These are going to be the week 2 notes for factoring polynomials. And this is going to be every case when a equals 1. So that means we're not going to have any lead coefficients here. So let's go ahead and start with number 1. So the number in front of x squared was our a. Number in front of x is our b. And our constant is our c. So I have a equals, b equals, c equals. If there's no number there, it's got to be a 1. So a equals 1. This is our b, which is 11. And c will be 28. Now I just have to make the chart. So it's going to be a times c plus and minus. Now a times c is 1 times 28, which is just 28. Now I need the factors of 28. So we had to find every two numbers that multiply to give us 28. So we start at 1. So 1 times 28. Then we go to 2. 2 times 14. 3 times nothing. We have 4 times 7. 5 times nothing. 6 times nothing. Then 7 times 4. But we already have that right there, so we're not going to write it again. Then I add them together. So 1 plus 28 is 29. 2 plus 14 is 16. 4 plus 7 is 11. 28 minus 1 is 27. 14 minus 2 is 12. 7 minus 4 is 3. Now, if you remember, we're looking for our b value, and we have it right here in our table. So that means we're going to be using this 4 and this 7. So to start off, we're going to do this the long way, which was grouping. So that means I have x squared, and then I have to take that 11x, so plus 11x plus 28, and I break that 11x down into 4x and 7x. Now, 4 and 7, to get to 11, they both have to be a positive, because positive 4 plus positive 7 equals positive 11. And then plus 28, and the x squared also comes down. Now we split it in half. So that's a set of parentheses, and that's a set of parentheses. And all we have to do now is figure out what we can factor out of this parentheses here. So the biggest thing that comes out of x squared and 4x is an x. So we have x squared. We take away 1x, we're left with an x. We have 4x, we take away an x, we're left with 4. Now the biggest thing we can take from 7x and 28, we can factor out a 7. So you have 7x, divide by the 7, we're left with just x. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So since these two parentheses are the same, that means we did it correctly. And our final answer is going to be this and this. So the two things we factored out, we're going to put together. And then the one that repeat will be the second set. So our answer here is x plus 7 and x plus 4. Now, if you remember, at the end, we did learn a shortcut for this. So we can just take these two numbers, it's x and x, and we know we're going to use a 4 and a 7. And since it's in the plus column, that means we need the same sign. Now, since our b value is a plus, that tells us that both of these are going to be plus. So if you're looking at the same sign, always use the sign of b. And notice we got the same answer here. So we did it correctly. It doesn't matter what order you write it in, they're still the same. But this shortcut, maybe, this only works when a equals 1. If that a value is anything bigger than 1, you cannot use this shortcut. You have to do the grouping method. I'm going to clear this next one so I have some space to do it. So for the next one, we're just going to go ahead and go to the shortcut. If you want to do the grouping way will always work when our shortcut only works when a equals 1. I'm going to start the same way. We're going to have a equals, b equals, and c equals. So again, our a is 1 because there's no number in front. Our b is a 2. And our c is technically a negative 35, but we don't worry about the negative, so I'm just going to write a 35. So I have a times c plus and minus. Now a times c is going to be 35 because 1 times 35 is 35. And all of my factors are 1 times 35, 2 times nothing, 3 times nothing, 4 times nothing, 5 times 7, 6 times nothing, 7 times 5, which we already have, so we're done. When we add these, we get 36 and 12. Subtract, I get 34 and 2. Now our b value is a 2. So that tells us we're going to be using the 5 and the 7 because those are in the same row. So I have x, and we know we're going to use a 5 and a 7. But this time if we look, it's in this subtraction column. So that means different signs. So that means one of these needs to be a plus and the other needs to be a minus. So I'm going to try both ways. So it can either be negative 5 plus 7 or positive 5 minus 7. And at the end, we want it to be this number here, so it needs to be a positive 2. So negative 5 plus 7, that's going to give us the positive 2. This one gives us positive 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Now we don't want this one because that one has this negative. So negative 5 and positive 7 will give us the positive 2. So negative 5, positive 7. And that's our answer. All right, number 3. We have x squared minus 8x plus 15. So same steps as before. A still equals 1. B equals 8. And C equals 15. So I make my chart. A times C plus minus. Now A times C here is 1 times 15, which is 15. And our factors of 15 are 1 times 15, 2 times nothing, 3 times 5, 4 times nothing, and 5 times 3, so we're back to where we started. Add, you get 16 and 8. Subtract to get 14 and 2. Looking for our b value, which is an 8. So we're going to be using the 3 and the 5. And again, I'm going to use the shortcut, but if you want to do grouping, you're going to get the same answer. So I have x and x, and I have a 3 and a 5. Now it's in the plus column. So that means we're going to use the same signs. And we look at our b value sign. This time it's negative. So both of these will be negative. And that's our answer. Number 4, we have x squared minus 36 And if you notice, there's no b value. So this is going to tell us that it's our special case because there's no b value. This is a perfect square. And there's a subtraction sign. So if it's all of that, this is where we're going to use that difference of square trick we learned. Now, if you don't remember this trick, you can still make your chart and find the b value that's 0. It'll still give you the answer. But with this, we have x squared minus 36. And all we have to do, you have to remember that one of these will be plus, the other is a minus. Then I just take the square root of both of these. So the square root of x squared, that means what times what equals x squared. It has to be the same number. So of course, x times x equals x squared, which means the square root of x squared is x. So x and x. Now we need the same number to multiply to give us 36, and the square root of 36 is 6. So that means we have a 6 here and a 6 here. So x plus 6, x minus 6 will be our answer. And just to show you that it works in your chart, I have a times c plus and minus. A times c is 36. It should be 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 4 times 9, and 6 times 6. Add, you get 37, 20, 13, 12. Subtract, you get 35, 16, 5, and 0. We're looking for the 0, which means we're going to use a 6 and a 6. There we have it there. Subtraction means different signs. So either way, if you don't remember this trick, you can go ahead and do the chart. If you do know the trick, use the trick. You just have to take the square root of both of them. All right. Now we're going to move on to our challenge problems. So with number 1, actually, hold on just a second. Try that one by yourself for a second. Okay, so this one we're going to start it the same way. You're going to see why it's a challenge in just a second. So A is still 1, B is 5, and C is 6. So we make our chart. I get A times C plus minus. A times C is 6. So that's 1 times 6, 2 times 3, then 3 times 2, so we're done. We add, we get 7 and 5. Subtract, we get 5 and 1. Now the problem here is we have 2 different 5s. We have 5 here and a 5 here. So when it's in both columns, what you have to do, look at the sign of C. So that's when it's in both columns. You have to look at the sign of C. Now, since our C is a plus, we're going to use this one. That means we don't care about the one in the subtraction column. Then we just do it like normal. So I know I'm going to have an X and an X. Then we know we're going to use the 2 and the 3 because we're using the 5 from the plus. Now, the plus column means the same side. use the sign of b, so they're both going to be a minus. So x minus 2, x minus 3 is our answer. All right, last one. Pre-AP, you definitely need this next one. It will be in your assignment for this week. So move this out the way. All right, so if the area of a rectangle is represented by the expression x squared plus 8x plus 7, and the length is represented by x minus 1, what expression could represent the width? So we're going to have to do, let's draw a picture. So here's our rectangle, and we know the area is going to be x squared plus 8x plus 7. And our length is going to be x minus 1. The width we don't know yet. But since area equals length times width, we know that x squared plus 8x plus 7 is going to equal our length, so x minus 1, times the width. But this is what we don't know yet. So all we have to do is factor this, but it already gives us one of our factors. We just need to find the other one. So let's do this like normal. Our a value is going to be 1, b is going to be 8, c is going to be 7. Make the chart. A times c is 7, so that's 1 times 7, and that's it. Those are our only factors. You add, you get 8, subtract, you get 6. And of course, we were looking for 8, which means I'm going to use a 7 and a 1. Something's wrong with this problem, actually. This should be a plus. Yeah, it should be a plus. So we know our factors are going to have x, and then we know we're going to have a 1 and a 7. So now when you add these together, we got 8, and it's in the plus column. So that means these have to be the same sign. We look at the sign of b, it's a plus. So that'll be plus and plus. And that is our answer for the factored form. But it gave us this x plus 1 already, so that means the width is represented by x plus 7. Your paper will have the correct one. I don't know what happened with this plus. But that's it for our notes this week. Let me know if you have any questions, put it in the Google form, ask me, whatever. Thanks.